This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. The lower end of the modelling market I think is a little bit crowded, and now I think there's probably 3 candidates here that I think of as my favourites. Let me know in the comments if I've missed something super obvious to you. So obviously you know the HX Stomp, one of my favourites. I use that pretty much every day. The HoTone Ampero, again, I think this is really great for the money. There are a couple of issues with it though, and a lot of those issues the Headrush MX5 doesn't really have. So the main problem that I have with the HoTone Ampero, that I don't think I could ever use it live, is that when you press these buttons to get into the other modes, say like if you were trying to get into the tuner mode, as you press that button, it switches to the preset that was underneath that. It's a little bit of a buggy thing. So that's one key thing that doesn't happen with the Headrush MX5. I think actually the Headrush to me is probably one of the more underrated units on the market. Now, it does in general use some fairly old-ish. The basis for like its modelling is from Avid, right? Which I can remember being quite a high-end unit. At the time, there was like Line 6 stuff, like the Pod HD probably. And then there was higher end stuff like the Axe effects, maybe standard. And there was also this thing called the 11 rack. And then after that, the kind of main thing seemed to be the Kemper. And since the Kemper, the 11 rack sort of faded into obscurity. I think what Headrush does quite nicely is fit quite a lot into the small package. And also, I think it sounds quite good. Now, they've just come out with an update which includes the blues driver, which is one of my favorite drives that doesn't get too much love. I think it's one of these things that, you know, most people I think could get something out of a blues driver. I'm surprised really that we don't see more clones of them, and I'm surprised really that they don't end up in more modelling solutions. Andy Timmons, probably one of the premier kind of blues driver users. It also came out with this party reverb, or yeah, which is sort of like a particle verb, sort of along the lines of the Meris Polymoon or the particle reverb that Angelo made for the Helix, which initially I think was in the M5, M3, those pedals, and in the Pod HD stuff. So the particle reverb, this is a party reverb. It's actually got some shimmer qualities as well. I'll show you it. I think this is probably my favorite reverb that's in here now. The one thing kind of holding Headrush back, I think, really, the pace of these updates. I think they could make a bit more of a splash if they, you know, were a little bit more consistent with this sort of stuff, probably. Because I can remember when I sold my gig board a couple of years back, 3 or so years back, the pace of updates was fairly slow then. There's been a couple of different amps added since then, I think like the Engel Savage, and maybe 1 or 2 others. They also added the Trace Elliott Elf, which is like a solid state, I believe, bass head, and the ability to load dual IRs. So I think once you pair the Headrush with a couple of decent IRs, you can get some really great sounds out of it. I think it's quite an interesting interface to use. I do think on the MX5, for me, it's a little bit on the smaller side, particularly when you're trying to get in and edit some of the pedals, because different parts of the pedal do different things. I think it becomes a little bit difficult then as well. So I think maybe some folks would prefer something like a desktop editor with it. But in general, the looper on it, incredible. The tones that I can get from it, I really do quite like. So I think it's a candidate. If I was gigging it, I'd choose it over the Ampero, to be honest, because it gets those things right. If I was going to be doing a lot of looping live, I think I'd look at Headrush because their loopers are great. The HX Stomp is what I actually gig live, or the HX Stomp XL, but this is definitely a candidate that is pretty decent, you know, coming from someone who doesn't really have a horse in this race. I have no horses. Also, people were asking for more details on my slippers. So Deep Jim will tell you that he was there with me. These are Marks and Spencer's, and they have thermo warmth. We have hard floors downstairs, so you know it's important to have a decent pair of slippers. I wouldn't say these are the most hard wearing on the market. I've not had them very long. It seems like the soles have started to leave them, but this style of slipper, the loafer, probably the most superior style of slipper, I think. Functional, practical, sleek, and yeah, goes well with the pipe. So yeah, here's the preset I was using in the intro. I was using a couple of the new things. So we've got the B2 drive, sorry, which is the blues driver from Bros. So without that, we've just got clean, dual amp clean. Then kick on the blues driver. Just one of my favourite combinations with the Strat, really, the blues driver doing that sort of mid-push thing. Okay, if I hold this, we get into our stomp mode, don't we? Right, there we go. And then over here, I've got my overdrive, which I could kick on. Yeah, just basically a TS-808 into the blues driver, stacking them in that way. And then we got the particle verb, which I'll just click on here. So these are the settings that I was using. You've got width to give you that stereoness. You've got damping, so as you turn damping down, you hear, get more of the high-end sort of stuff. And you can also hear quite clearly what's going on there. We've got basically a pretty complex kind of network of delays, if I turn the mix up, that are kind of getting diffused. This is one of my favourite sounds between delay and reverb. And as you turn the decay up, it kind of becomes even more wonderful. Okay, and then some of the other settings that we've got on here, like Divine Hall, worth checking these out because there's hidden kind of settings, like with octaves and stuff. And if I wanted to cut off some of that high end, I'd use that damping setting. But you see there's loads of stuff here. Machine elves, I tried kind of got a fifth up. It does feel like there should be like another page of settings to edit there, but that is kind of what it is. For me, that's one of the more interesting effects that they've got on the unit now. I just really like that as a sound. Again, I don't know if that's going to be for everyone, but for me, I kind of love the sound of that sort of thing. Discard those edits. So yeah, other things you can do now, I think there's a dual IR loader. So if I go here, the way it works, I think, go like that. And then here you press ×2 and then you can load another one. So that's how that works. Again, I think a bit of a smaller screen than would be really necessary to get the best out of this particular interface. We've got a new chorus here as well. So like you press the bottom of the thing to get it to activate. Double press to edit. Something that might make some of the Prince fans happy, but that party reverb I think sounds really good as well. So reverb delay at the very bottom of the list, party reverb, default. Double click. My presets, jump over to Gumroad, you'll find the ones that I was using there in the intro. But yeah, I'll catch you in another video soon, I reckon. Cheers.